Good afternoon. The city is under a winter storm warning with potentially hazardous conditions expected throughout the day.
People are being urged to be careful on the roads as the forecast is calling for a mix of snow, ice pellets, and freezing rain. CTV's Janice Golding has been speaking with commuters trying to navigate the messy conditions and joins us live with more. Janice.
Hi, Nathan. Well, as you can see, there is a mix of snow and ice pellets coming down, and it's quite windy. So as you can imagine, it hasn't been a very wonderful morning to get around. Of course, Environment Canada says we are dealing with severe weather, and it has issued a yellow winter storm warning for Toronto and the GTA, saying we can expect snow, ice pellets, and freezing rain, which will impact both the morning and evening commutes. Ice pellets, of course, can result in hazardous travel conditions with reduced traction on roadways. As a precaution, both Toronto's public and Catholic school boards canceled school buses today, although schools do remain open. Right now, we're in the Avenue and Davenport area, and I can tell you that the bad weather here really started around 9 a.m. and began intensifying around 10. We've been monitoring driving conditions and speaking to commuters this morning, and here is what they had to say.
You know, it's not very nice. I'd rather it was like yesterday when it was +5 out. It's so cold!
It's time for round 2, yay!
Yeah, it's always on a precaution we drive. I always drive slow.
Definitely is slippery out there, and I think because we're going to be getting so many different types of precipitation today, it's even more cause for being alert, being aware, and preparing as much as possible.
Remember, even wet roads are still slippery, and it's going to give you a longer stopping distance in case you do a panic brake or in case you do some aggressive steering or aggressive braking.
So again, expect icy and slippery road conditions today, and you're advised to stay home if you do not absolutely have to travel. Reporting live, Janice Golding. Now back to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. The winter storm is also triggering problems for air travelers.
People are being advised to check their flight status before making the trip to the airport. CTV's Rahim Ladhani joins us live from Pearson with more on how travelers are dealing with the delays. Rahim.
Hi, Nathan and Michelle. Good afternoon. You know, from a travel perspective, it looks worse than it actually is. The vast majority of travelers we've been speaking with, their flights are taking off as planned, and that's partially because a lot of airlines canceled flights in advance yesterday in anticipation for this weather event. Yes, here at the airport, there normally is a lot of hustle and bustle, but there's no chaos like we saw the last couple of winter storms. Now, the airport says that behind the scenes, there is a lot of work still being done to make sure that these aircrafts are taking off on time. There are a lot of machinery on the runways and taxis clearing that off and making sure that the de-icing machine is working properly as well. We've been speaking with the GTHA about what they're doing behind the scenes. Have a listen to what they have to say.
So we have traffic management initiatives in place, and what those do is slow the rate of departures and arrivals to make sure that we have time to clear the taxiways and runways in between the takeoff and landing. As of about 11:30, we've seen 96 flights departures canceled and 97 arrivals canceled. So it's been an impact from this winter weather, but the airline canceled a lot of those flights in advance, so the terminals are actually quite quiet. But it's full staffing here at the de-icing facility, and it will continue to be that way for the day. Snowplows continue to be in taxiway and runway circuits to keep all the surfaces clear, but it's going to be a lot of work, and it's going to continue throughout the day.
The one thing I will say is that if you are coming to Terminal 1 departures and someone's dropping you off, the lead up to the terminal has slowed down significantly because of the weather and the slush and the snow on the ground. So give yourself extra time there, and certainly make sure to check your flight status before coming to the airport. Reporting live, I'm Rahim Ladhani. Nathan and Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Rahim. Today marks the first time the recently opened Eglinton Crosstown LRT will be operating in these winter conditions.
So far, there have been no issues reported with the light rail line. CTV's Beth McDonnell has been speaking with commuters taking the line today and joins us live with more. Beth.
Yes, Michelle, I'm at the stop O'Connor, which is near O'Connor and Pharmacy, and of course intersects with Eglinton. And one thing I will tell you about the storm today, it is not very pleasant waiting for the LRT in this storm. If you step out, there is ice and snow coming right into your face, so you really need to tuck in behind these barriers for protection. This is the 11th day of service for the Eglinton LRT, and one thing that people are concerned about is how this line is going to hold hold up in bad weather, especially after a snowstorm shut down Line 6 on Finch West earlier this winter. There are some questions around if there's a problem on the above ground section of the Eglinton LRT. What's going to happen to the timing of trains along the line, and especially for the underground section? So far, speaking today to people, they seem to have confidence in the LRT getting them to where they need to go, even if it's hard to wait outside.
With the wind, not very pleasant. But again, I just have to deal with it. It's not fun, but if this is how they design it, I just have to deal with it.
They've been planning for like 50 years or so. I think they would have expected something like this. It's not a new, it's Toronto, right? Like winter's always here. So.
I don't know about the weather, where we're gonna see this afternoon if I could go home.
It's good. It's really good. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it got delays, but overall it's pretty good.
So far, trains seem to be running smoothly and on time. We're going to be here along the line checking things out, seeing how everyone is coping during this storm. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Nathan, back to you.
All right, thank you, Beth. And there's another live look at the city this afternoon. The hazardous conditions are expected to continue throughout the day and into the evening. You know, early this morning, it didn't seem so bad, but things really did change throughout the afternoon. Lindsay Morrison has a look at the current conditions. Lindsay.
Yeah, Nathan, things got off to a little bit of a slow start early this morning, but conditions, yes, as you've been seeing, deteriorating quickly out there. And a close look at our satellite and radar shows us exactly what we were expecting. Different types of precipitation, and depending on where you are either getting snow, so those are the areas in blue, Toronto north toward Newmarket, and for much of Durham region, we've been seeing some ice pellets. I could hear them bouncing off Beth's jacket there. So a little bit noisy for the north end of the GTA, in the north end of Mississauga and Brampton. We're going to widen things out a little bit so you can see the freezing rain. Those are the communities in pink. North end of Hamilton extending over toward London, and certainly in the Cambridge area, you're getting some freezing rain right now. And the northern leading edge of this system pushing into areas like Barrie and Peterborough with some snow as well. So this is a very temperature sensitive system. So depending on your temperature, that helps determine what type of precip you're getting. So it's +1 in Niagara Falls, where we've been seeing some rain, 0 right now in Toronto, but -3 degrees in Barrie and Peterborough, where that snow continues to fall. Freezing rain warnings, and it's an orange level alert for some communities, including Guelph, for example. We remain under a winter storm warning in Toronto, and there's the snowfall warning for areas north and east of here. It is windy with strong gusts coming out of the east today. Here's your day at a glance. The temperature is going to fall from 0 to about -2 this afternoon. So a messy mix expected to continue through the rest of the afternoon. Improvements come this evening. We'll talk all about it in your weather forecast coming up. For now, Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. 4 of the city's warming centers are open in response to the conditions. 2 are downtown on Elizabeth and George Streets. 1 is in North York near Yonge and Finch, and the other one is in Scarborough on Scarborough Golf Club Road, south of Ellesmere. The warming centers provide a place for vulnerable residents to rest and have a meal.
One person was sent to hospital following a shooting in North York overnight. Police were called to the area of Jane Street and Driftwood Avenue just after midnight for reports of a shooting. They found a man suffering from gunshot wounds. He was taken to hospital in life-threatening condition. However, police now say his condition has stabilized. Investigators have not provided any details at this point about possible suspects. They're asking anyone who might have information to come forward.
A third complainant will testify today at the sexual assault trial of billionaire businessman Frank Stronach. 2 complainants, both women in their 60s, have testified since the trial began last week. Yesterday, a complainant who cannot be identified testified about her experience with Stronach after being fired. She says she was invited to his harborfront condo, and after insisting on leaving, she claims that he groped her. Stronach's defense pointed out that there was new information in the complainant's testimony. The 93-year-old has pleaded not guilty to 12 charges over alleged incidents dating back to the 1970s and 90s.
A woman was sent to hospital following a 2-vehicle crash on the Lakeshore overnight. This happened shortly after midnight in the area of Lakeshore Road and Burlington Street. Paramedics assessed 2 people at the scene and transported 1 woman to hospital with serious injuries. The cause of this crash is still under investigation.
The province and city are marking a milestone in the construction of the Ontario line.
The Ontario line will transform how people move across our city. Over 15 kilometers of new subway, getting hundreds of thousands of Torontonians where they need to go faster and more reliably.
This is what happens when you collaborate municipally, provincially, and federally. And yes, I'm going to buy the mayor a blue jacket instead of the orange one, but I don't care about political red. Well, kind of okay, red, a little red orange. I'm getting you a blue one either way. But I also want to recognize Michael Lindsay from Metrolinx. You're doing a great job, Michael, and all the industry leaders who have joined us today. I want to thank everyone from the TTC as well.
The province is breaking ground on a 3-kilometer stretch of track which will connect the Don Valley, Flemington Park, and Thorncliffe Park stations. Ground has also been broken at Cosburn Station. The province says work on this part of the Ontario line will support 4,700 jobs during construction and bring nearly 230,000 more people within walking distance of transit once it's completed.
Still to come on CTV News at noon, Canada's new ambassador to the United States has officially moved into the role. We'll have more on his efforts to improve relations south of the border a little later in the newscast.
And while we're dealing with wintry conditions in the city, our ball club's preparing for the upcoming season in sunny Florida. CB24's Melissa Duggan joins us live now from Dunedin with the latest from Blue Jays spring training. And, you know, we've been hearing about how relaxed and loose this team is. Are they getting a bit more intense now as they get closer to their first, spring training game?
You know, I think the opposite is happening right now, Nathan. I think they're getting more loose as the days go on here at spring training in Dunedin. Let me show you some of the action that's happening right now. We're watching some live batting practice. It's Jose Barrios who's tossing in those balls right now as we're seeing guys take swings. A lot of big names behind the plate right now as well. And, they're chatting here. They're laughing. They're having a good time. That's some of that loose feel that we're hearing about, and certainly something that manager John Schneider has been talking about as well. He's saying this is the time to have fun, to embrace it, and to just have a blast here at spring training. We were talking to him earlier too about the depth that this team has. That all guys in the lineup are able to contribute, and that is something that's helped the team propel them to success in the regular season, in the postseason. I was asking him, about that depth. When you think about players like Miles Straw, like Ernie Clement, like Nathan Lucas, what kind of contributions can we expect from them looking at the 2026 regular season? Here's what he's telling us.
I think we really leaned into, using everyone last year. 26 guys, and then there's guys that are in the minor leagues that aren't part of it, and then they're coming up and they're welcome with open arms. So right now it's kind of weird where or I shouldn't say weird, unique that we have some depth on our major league roster even, which I think good teams have, and it promotes competition. I think that's a really good thing throughout spring training and the season, and we've done a really good job of identifying guys, position players and pitchers that have specific skill sets that we think we can build on and that can come up and help us.
Here's a look now at Okamoto taking a swing. One of the newest members of the Blue Jays. We get to see him in action here, taking pitches from MLB pitchers. Of course, he's joining us from Japan. Quite a swing on Okamoto, and certainly a welcome member of this team, joining up for some 4-year contract worth $60 million. And what we're hearing from the other teammates here, what has this experience been like with Okamoto? They're catching his balls. We see him in training at third base, tossing the ball to the guys. And listen, they're saying he's great, that he's got a great sense of humor, and certainly welcome on board here with open arms. So spring training, Nathan, very much in full swing at this moment. And happy to take you next to the diamond to show you this real action that's taking place here. All, of course, in the run-up to Saturday's game. We're going to see the Jays taking on the Phillies. Back to you.
All right, CB24's Melissa Duggan in Dunedin, Florida. Thank you.
In Ottawa, a third Conservative is crossing the floor to join the governing Liberals. Prime Minister Mark Carney making the announcement on X this morning, saying, "I am honoured to welcome Matt Jeneroux to our caucus as the newest member of Canada's new government. Building a stronger, more resilient and more independent country will require ambition, collaboration and occasionally sacrifice. I am grateful to Matt and his family that he will continue his service as a strong voice for Edmonton Riverbend in Parliament." In November, Janice suddenly announced plans to resign as an MP in the spring. But he said today on Facebook that he changed his mind after talking with those close to him and insists the moment demands steady leadership for the country. He said, after further reflection with my family and conversations with colleagues and constituents, I will be continuing to serve in Parliament, and I will be working with Prime Minister Mark Carney as part of his new government to help build our country's strength as we face the challenges ahead. Despite Janice's decision, the Liberals remain 3 seats short of a majority. Mark Carney also announced today Janice will be taking on the role of Special Advisor on Economic and Security Partnerships. He was first elected as a Conservative MP back in 2015. Inflation data released yesterday revealing increasing prices for staples like your morning cup of coffee.
However, the overall trend appears to show the cost of living declining slightly. CTV's Adrian Gobriel takes a closer look at the numbers.
Putting the brakes on inflation at the pumps. Canada's annual inflation rate landed at 2.3% in January, a slight dip from 2.4% in December, with the price of gasoline driving the decline, dipping by more than 16% year over year.
Pretty good print with prices heading in the right direction.
After years of driving inflation, the cost of shelter is now actually helping keep things grounded.
Whether that's ownership costs, or we're seeing that rents overall are decelerating. I would say that big contributing factor to CPI continues to move in the right direction.
The same can't be said at the grocery store, where a 4.8% overall increase is leaving Canadians with a bitter taste.
It's getting out of hand for sure.
You came to spend $20 and you spend a couple hundred.
While rice, fresh vegetables, and eggs have decelerated, ground beef is up by more than 22% year over year. Nuts and seeds have spiked more than 13%, with roasted and ground coffee boiling over at more than 37%.
It's products that are affected by specific circumstances that are driving prices up.
Coffee yields, according to one economist, are being impacted by climate change. Droughts in recent years have in part led to Canadian farmers reducing their number of cattle to a near 40-year low.
Often we say when price goes up, demand goes down, and we're not very quick to stop eating beef. I expect that we'll see higher beef prices sustained for a few years.
While food costs remain a concern, overall the current rate of inflation is being pitched as a positive, even as the outlook remains murky, with so much riding on the whims of a U.S. administration and vital free trade negotiations.
Some economists believe there's a good chance that interest rates will hold when the Bank of Canada announces its next decision on March 18th, though GDP and unemployment could factor in to future rate decisions in April and June. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Toronto.
Food inflation is an issue across the country, but new data indicates Atlantic Canada is being hit harder by rising grocery prices.
One is the added transportation costs, because pretty much everything is trucked in. You have a much shorter season to grow product.
While overall inflation dropped to 2.3% in January, food inflation rose to 7.3%. That's compared to 6.2% in December. Potatoes, ground beef, and coffee are more expensive in Atlantic Canada than they are in Toronto or Vancouver.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is distancing himself from comments made by one of his MPs, Jamil Jivani, who represents the riding of Bowmanville, Oshawa North, called Canada's reaction to U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs an anti-America hissy fit.
Well, he speaks for himself, and I speak for the party.
Jivani made the comments to right-wing U.S. media outlet Breitbart after making a solo trip to Washington to meet with senior U.S. officials. He called his conversations productive. Poilievre says he has spoken to Jivani following the trip. The Conservative leader says his message is that Canada needs to focus on what it can do at home to increase leverage in trade negotiations.
My view is that he represents a riding that has been disproportionately impacted by the dispute. He's from just outside of Oshawa. 1,200 Ottawa-Oshawa residents have lost their jobs, in part due to the tariffs. And I think that it's necessary for all MPs to use all the connections and work that they can in order to overturn the tariffs and protect Canadian jobs. So I encourage all MPs to fight the tariffs and stand up for Canada.
Jivani is a friend of U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance. The pair went to university together, and Jivani helped run a charity organization founded by Vance between 2016 and 2018.
Canada's new top diplomat in Washington has officially taken on the role of ambassador to the United States. Mark Wiseman presented his credentials to U.S. President Donald Trump yesterday. Wiseman is a global investment banker and a longtime friend of Prime Minister Mark Carney. He's looking to help Canada address U.S. tariffs ahead of a review of the Canada-U.S.-Mexico trade agreement later this year. In a statement, Wiseman says it's a profound privilege to serve as ambassador. He also says the partnership between Canada and the U.S. is foundation to both countries' prosperity, security, and global leadership.
After earning 3 gold medals over the past 3 days, Team Canada is looking to continue its success at the Winter Games in Italy. Our Scott Hurst has been following all the action and joins us live now with the very latest. Scott, so much focus on the men's hockey tournament. Bit of a slow start for Team Canada in the quarterfinals, but nice to see they tied it up.
They've tied it up, but yeah, a little bit more nerve-wracking than a lot of fans were probably hoping for in this quarterfinals matchup versus Czechia. Of course, it is win or go home with a shot in the semis at stake here. It is 2-2 at the end of the second period. Canada starting the scoring with a goal by Macklin Celebrini. Then Czechia followed it up with 2 straight goals in the first period. The go-ahead goal by David Pasternak, but then in the second, Canada was able to tie it up with the goal by Nathan McKinnon. Connor McDavid with 2 assists so far in this game. So it is 2-2 at the end of the second period, but there's also concern right now about the status of captain Sidney Crosby. He limped off in the second period and went back to the dressing room as the game was still going on, waiting for an official update on the status of Sidney Crosby, of course, for the rest of this game, and then concern, obviously, for the rest of the tournament. But right now, it is 2-2 in this quarterfinal matchup between Canada and Czechia. Other games that we are watching include the USA will play Sweden later today. Finland plays Switzerland as well. Already today, we saw Slovakia beat Germany in the other quarterfinal matchup.
What else are you watching today? What do you think could land us on the podium?
There are a couple other chances where we could get on the podium later today. Coming in speed skating, first, the men's short track 500-meter event with a couple Canadians, in fact, 3 Canadians in the mix in this one, including Stephen Dubois, William Dangenou, and Maxime Lauin, all race in the quarterfinals. That happens just after 2 o'clock Eastern time with the semis and finals after that. So potentially a few opportunities for Canada to get on the podium in the men's 500-meter short track. Also later this afternoon, the women's 3,000-meter relay. Canada has a spot in the A final. 4 teams will start, of course. There are only 3 spots on the podium, and part of that team is Courtney Saroux. She's looking for her 4th medal at these Olympic Games. So a few more opportunities potentially to get on the podium later this afternoon, Michelle.
I love it. CTV's Scott Hurst live for us in the National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
The Prime Minister is exploring a shift in trade strategy, one which could see Canada rely significantly less on the U.S.
CTV's Michael Couture has more on the plan and potential challenges it faces.
Prime Minister Mark Carney confirms Canada has begun discussions with countries from both the European Union and a collection of Pacific nations with an eye to making a larger trading bloc. It builds on his speech in Davos, where Carney called on middle powers to join together.
You start to put together blocks of like-minded countries on different issues. Canada can play a role there. We're one of the countries playing a role, and we'll continue those discussions.
The new trading bloc would represent 39 countries and 1.5 billion people. While the Conservatives applaud the effort, trade critic Adam Chambers says resources should be focused on renewing the Canada-U.S.-Mexico trade agreement.
A discussion between CPTPP nations and the EU might have some future fruits down the road. We need to make sure that we get a deal right on NAFTA, as we did a number of years ago.
President Donald Trump has mused about walking away from the trilateral trade deal altogether. And some trade experts worry creating another massive trading bloc without the U.S. could make him angry.
We know Donald Trump. If you go down this road, he will take this as a personal affront. And we seem to be walking into the punches. I don't quite understand the strategy.
While there is a risk of blowback from the U.S., this former trade advisor to Prime Minister Stephen Harper believes getting like-minded nations on the same page is a good thing.
Even if this isn't successful, I think that there's still a worthwhile effort in having a common conversation with all of these countries together around how we can cooperate, how we can collaborate.
Trade experts also point out there are still elements of the Canada-EU free trade agreement which have not been ratified by European countries. So while there are discussions about a new trading bloc, we're still a long way from striking a deal. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
In Geneva, a second day of peace talks between Ukraine and Russia has ended with no breakthrough. Ukraine's president is accusing Moscow of stalling U.S.-mediated efforts to end the war. Volodymyr Zelensky says Russia is trying to drag out negotiations that could have already reached the final stage. Ukraine has faced repeated pressure from U.S. President Donald Trump to agree to a deal that could mean significant concessions. Zelensky called the first day of talks yesterday difficult. The delegation said they would meet again without providing a date.
Meanwhile, NATO's high readiness spearhead force has been deployed across Europe for the first time. Nearly 10,000 military personnel have been mobilized from 13 countries, as well as several warships and aircraft. Many are gathered in northern Germany to showcase Steadfast Dart, NATO's biggest drills of 2026. The U.S. is not taking part, but military officers say that's coincidental and not due to political tensions with the alliance or America's focus on security priorities elsewhere.
Muslims around the world are marking the holy month of Ramadan.
This is a month of compassion and when the community comes together.
The month will see people fast during the daylight hours, using the time from dawn until sunset for prayer and reflection.
Meanwhile, Christians are celebrating Ash Wednesday, including as part of Mardi Gras in New Orleans. Revelers filled the streets yesterday to mark Shrove Tuesday. Meanwhile, today is Lent, which marks a 40-day period of fasting. Lindsay.
Well, there were quite a few signs of spring yesterday. We climbed all the way to 8 degrees here in the city of Toronto, but some call that cool spring because it looks and feels a little more like winter again today. Although, interestingly enough, the mixed precip that we're getting today, that's indicative or certainly a sign of things to come with the spring season. Here's a look at how we get these different types of precipitation, and it has everything to do with the warmer air aloft in the atmosphere. Often things like freezing rain and ice pellets get mixed up, but we're seeing a little bit of everything today. Here's a look at your afternoon drive. Some areas are going to dry out by around 5 p.m., so that's a good thing. We're going to take a detailed look at your forecast for the rest of today, plus another round of active weather for the weekend. All of those details are after the break.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400. From your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Fans of the Beatles are getting a behind-the-scenes look at more than 250 photos taken by the one and only Paul McCartney as the band was becoming global superstars. It's all inside a brand new exhibit at the Art Gallery of Ontario, and that's where we find our Jessica Smith. Jess, this sounds classic.
Honestly, if you are a fan of the Beatles in any way, shape, or form, you have to come check it out. And I was just talking to Jim with the AGO about the fact that it feels like family-style photos, because I feel like you're getting a view into the lives of these people that became these iconic musicians in a way that you wouldn't normally if you were just setting up a professional shoot. Is that part of the allure of this exhibit, because it feels like a family photo shoot that you're getting to peek in on?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that's what Paul was doing. He wasn't thinking about this as legacy. He wasn't thinking about, an exhibition 60 years down the road. It was just capturing his brothers and then the other people who joined their entourage who became this extended family. Yeah.
It is really cool to kind of see this lens of right as this band that became so iconic and global superstars as they're taking off. Have you noticed a different connection from the original fans of the band to fans that are maybe newer and in a younger generation as to how it kind of brings everybody together?
Well, I mean, the bulk of their original fans were screaming girls in a way, and in a way, but it was more than that. But that was, at the live shows, and that's why that got very tired for them. They withdrew from that after 66, and I think their fan base kept growing too, and they. and it just kept growing, so that, you know, today there's no barrier. This is not just geezer rock or dad rock or whatever. This is just, you know, the Beatles have just always managed, you know, to find a broader place in the culture.
And I feel like no matter who you are, there's a song that the Beatles have that really resonates with people. Well, Jim, thank you so much. You can come on down to the AGO and check this out. You have to come see it. It is the whole 5th floor, and I feel like it is one that will take your breath away. And you can sing along to your favorite song, maybe sing Here Comes the Sun, hoping for better weather eventually. I'll send things back to the studio.
I love that. Yeah, I was trying to think, is there a Beatles song that captures the weather we're dealing with here? We're in the middle of another weather event, a winter storm, and it really is a messy mix, and we've seen it kind of evolve since this morning.
Yeah, I think, you know, early it didn't seem like it was going to be too bad, but it was as advertised, pretty messy.
Yeah, in fact, we're looking at a live shot from the Toronto Island, and that camera is just panning right now, and we're seeing the ice buildup that is happening there. So, yeah, very much a messy mix that we anticipated. Take a look at that. Yeah, ice likely to build up on some roads, on some cars as we progress through the day today. So just be careful out there. Hazardous conditions expected through the early part of this afternoon. And here's a look at what you can expect for the rest of the day and into the weekend. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. We'll begin first, though, with a look outside. And depending on which part of the GTA you're in, you're right, it may not be feeling quite as bad as some of these other powerful winter storms that we've had so far this season. It is nice not to be picking up 50 centimeters of snow. And it is nice that some of the areas, even under the freezing rain warning right now, are seeing a little more in the way of snow. That could be a bit of a relief. Makes for a less dangerous situation overall. Winter storm warning remains in place for Toronto proper. We've got snowfall warnings to the north and to the east. And depending on which part of the snowfall or the rainfall, freezing rain, I should say, warning you are in, it's either an orange level alert or a yellow level alert. We're starting to see a little more in the way of freezing rain. So those are the areas in pink. Do want to point out that we've got some heavy rain happening in southwestern Ontario and around Niagara Falls. The purple that you see here, that's usually indicative of some mixing, usually in the form of ice pellets. And then we do have some snow, heavy wet snow impacting parts of Toronto. And again, areas to the north and to the east. Nice close shot there. We'll show you the mixing line happening around the city of Burlington, for example, right now, as well as in and around Oakville. By the time all is said and done, we anticipate another couple of centimeters of snow and ice pellets accumulating for Toronto. More measurable snow for areas like Orillia and Peterborough, up to 15 centimeters, in fact. This has really eased, and I'm happy to see this. It's not looking like it's going to be quite as prolonged, the freezing rain event for areas west of Toronto. We're going to see a little less in the way of ice accretion. Yesterday, it was looking like we could see 10 to even 15 millimeters of ice buildup. Less the case now. So there's 2 p.m. Just going to pause this again around 4 so you can see starting to taper off for many areas, mainly from west to east. But again, that snow is going to linger a little bit longer east of the GTA. Tomorrow is a bit of a quiet day. We do have the risk of some freezing drizzle. And then guess what? Another messy system moves in for Friday, first with some rain and then likely a changeover to some snow. Winds are strong right now coming out of the east. They are going to ease somewhat as we make our way into the night tonight. We're still holding at 0 this hour in Toronto. It's a little bit cooler for areas north and a little bit milder south. Overnight tonight, holding steady near 0 in Niagara, but dropping to -6 degrees in and around Bancroft. There's tomorrow at a glance, a mostly cloudy day with, again, the possibility of some freezing drizzle. There's our next round of active weather for Friday, and Saturday looks to be a little unsettled as well. So winter certainly hanging on. Nathan and Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Still to come, federal workers in need of childcare are expressing concern about Ottawa's new back-to-office mandate. We'll have more on the issues they're raising when we return. A Manitoba family is calling for action to address issues plaguing emergency rooms across the country.
Their concerns come following the death of a loved one who spent 11 hours waiting in the ER. CTV's Alex Carpa has the story.
Stacey Ross was just 55 years old when she died after waiting 11 hours in a Winnipeg emergency room in January.
My mother's death should never have happened. She could have been saved.
Morgan Ross said her mom went to St. Boniface Hospital on January 4th with severe chest pain. After a 12-hour wait, she was told it was a virus and was sent home. But she returned by ambulance on January 15th and waited another 11 hours before being admitted. Morgan says hospital officials later said the wait killed her mom.
My mother was taken from me. She wanted to live. She did everything possible to live, and the Canada healthcare system killed her.
Stacey's sister, Sherry Ross, is adamant her death was completely preventable.
Something's got to change, like starting from the triage department where you walk in. Something's got to change.
Now the Ross family, alongside the Manitoba PCs, are calling for a public inquiry.
We need an external investigation to understand what's happening in our ERs and to restore some accountability to the system.
Manitoba's health minister said findings from their ongoing investigation with recommendations will be made public.
The family is at the heart of this process. We want to make sure, again, that all of their questions are answered in full.
One cardiologist we spoke to says wait times continue to remain a major problem at hospitals across the country, which he says is causing mistakes to happen.
Where there's a lack of resources, this is when people start falling through the cracks. And when wait times in emergency rooms start getting so long, they're not doing things as well as they should be done.
As for Morgan, the goal now is change, so no other family has to endure the same pain she is experiencing.
There needs to be a way for everyone to live, because this wasn't a reason to die.
Alex Carper, CTV News, Winnipeg.
North York General says it's now the first hospital in the province deploying a new artificial intelligence tool to reduce emergency department wait times. North York General is home to one of the highest volume emergency departments in Ontario, with more than 121,000 visits last year. The hospital says as wait times grow, there are increased risks patients may need to be admitted or could even leave before being seen. That inspired the launch of Smart ER Zones. The AI tool is designed to alert staff if a patient has been waiting longer than a set amount of time. It then shares recommendations for relocating them to areas of the ER with more capacity to enable faster treatment. The hospital says Smart ER Zones have undergone extensive testing and all care decisions remain with clinicians. The new return to office mandate, along with planned job cuts, are creating uncertainty for many public servants, particularly parents trying to secure childcare.
CTV's Caitlin Wilson spoke with a mom in Ottawa who says the changes may force her out of the public service completely.
Brooklyn Holmes is on maternity leave with her 3-month-old son. She isn't set to return to work at Employment and Social Development Canada until the fall, but already she doesn't know if she'll have a job to go back to.
We have 60 days to decide if we want to take part in the voluntary departure program, and after that we would maybe compete for our jobs if not enough people have left.
She and her husband both work for the federal government, and her job is among thousands affected by workforce reductions. At the same time, if she returns, she'll be expected in the office 4 days a week under the latest return to office mandate.
Right now, trains are breaking down, buses are running off schedule, so I'm worried about whether or not I'm going to be able to get to work on time and then also get to daycare and school drop-off and pick up on time.
That's assuming she has childcare at all. Her oldest starts kindergarten in the fall, and at the start of the school year, the Ottawa-Carleton District School Board had more than 1,000 children on wait lists for extended day programs.
We put ourselves on the wait list, but they don't make those decisions until sometimes I think it could be even August.
And daycare for her youngest is no different. Operators say wait lists have only grown under the $10 a day childcare program.
I actually got on the list before I was pregnant, so I'm hoping that will be enough to get him a spot in the fall.
According to one union representing public servants, that uncertainty is now a reality for many women and working parents.
These decisions have not been based in facts and evidence, and they're not taking into account the lives of people. The wait lists were already long, and for folks to find care on such short notice is now just going to add an extra burden to the system.
For Holmes, she's leaning towards voluntarily leaving the public service and trying self-employment, even if it means less pay.
I think women disproportionately bear the cost of these kind of policies, so it would be disappointing if the policies resulted in women leaving the workforce in large numbers.
Caitlin Wilson, CTV News.
Still to come, a major winter storm in January is being blamed for a decline in home sales in the GTHA. We'll have those details when we come back.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Blue Jays are speaking with the media in Dunedin this afternoon. That's utility player Davis Schneider. Let's listen in.
When we first see each other, it's kind of like the same old stuff, but we're ready to get to work since we're down here. But it's nice. You know, the first couple weeks in spring training are kind of laid back. You know, we're still getting our work in, but once games start, that's when everyone kind of, you know, is locked in.
Yeah, and when you're looking at that kind of locked-in feeling, you know, there are so many fans that are on board right now cheering for you guys. I wonder what you're expecting from the atmosphere at Rogers Centre when you return.
Yeah, I mean, it was great last year. I mean, ever since I got called up in 23, it's been hell of an experience just being with the fans. And, you know, I know everyone says it, but you're not just playing for a city, you're playing for a country, and you can really feel that, especially during the playoffs. I mean, the fans were great the whole time, and hopefully they can keep it up this year and ride it out 162.
What do you think about the Canadian weather when you're up there playing? I'm saying that because right now Toronto is being slammed by a messy storm. It is gorgeous and sunny right now. How do you prepare for that?
Well, we have a dome, so that's good. But outside of that, it's because when we're playing in New York and Boston, it's just as cold. But you know, you just got to bear with it, and hopefully that first month isn't as cold as, you know, you make it seem. But it's tough. The first month in, you know, the Northeast, it's a grind, but, you know, that's baseball, and, you know, everyone goes through it.
And something else I'm curious about, too, like spring training, the day starts so early here. What's that like compared to playing? We're usually seeing you guys at night, sometimes in the afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, we're not getting to the ballpark during the season around until 12, 1 o'clock. Here we kind of, you know, 5:30, 6:30, so it's definitely a grind to wake up a little bit earlier, but, you know, there's worse things in the world than coming to a baseball field for your job. So I'm not complaining, but, you know, get to bed early. That's all you can really do.
Who gets here the earliest?
I don't know. Usually it's the catchers do and the coaches here, obviously, but our old hitting coach, Hunter Mentz, used to get here at 3:30 in the morning. He used to work out all the time, and he would get here 3 hours before everyone else. So I don't know who's going to take that reign this year, but we'll see. It's definitely one of the coaches, but I'm not sure yet.
And any message to Toronto? I know that there's so many people just counting down the days till you guys are back.
No, not really. I mean, I feel like the fans are great. I mean, I love what we do as baseball players, and the fans are what make this game great. And so Toronto fans are the best. And, you know, I'm from Philadelphia, so I know how bad some fans can get, but Toronto fans are the best. So, and I just tell them to keep it up and always continue to support us. Yeah, sweet. Yeah, thank you.
All right, listening to Davis Schneider of the Blue Jays, live in Dunedin, Florida, in spring training. Says, look, they're just getting their work in, getting ready. And, of course, he loves the support of fans in Toronto and across the country, and he loves playing for them. Our Sean Leathong is in Dunedin, Florida. He'll give us a recap at 5 and 6 tonight.
The massive winter storm that hit the GTA last month appears to have had a major impact on home sales. The Canadian Real Estate Association says home sales in January fell by more than 16% compared to last year. The association says the drop was driven primarily by the Greater Golden Horseshoe and Southwestern Ontario, suggesting the decline was potentially driven more by the storm than lower demand. Meanwhile, the national average sale price last month was nearly $653,000. Down 2.6% compared to last January. You're watching CTV News at noon as we monitor yet another winter storm this hour. Stay with us for the latest details.
Netflix is reportedly threatening the tech giant behind TikTok with immediate litigation over its AI video generation software.
This is not over. Not by a long shot.
That's a moment from the recently released final season of Stranger Things. It's one of several copyrighted properties that Netflix is alleging were improperly copied by Cdance 2.0, which is owned by ByteDance. Now, Variety reports Netflix has joined other studios in filing suit against the Chinese tech giant, calling the video generation tool a high-speed piracy engine. The company has said it will add guardrails preventing copyright abuse or the recreation of actors' likenesses.
A winter storm warning is in effect. A lot happening weather-wise. Lindsay, what do we need to know?
Well, we need to know that this wet snow looks like it's going to continue for Toronto specifically, but I want to take one more look at the satellite and radar because, again, depending on where you are, you might be seeing a different type of precip outside your window. We've got some ice pellets impacting the Oakville area. North toward Milton, we might be seeing a little more now in the way of freezing rain there. Certainly the case around Guelph and Kitchener-Waterloo and back toward Cambridge. Snow is falling from Barrie over toward Peterborough, and for southern Durham region, York region, seeing that heavy wet snow as well. The winter storm warning remains in place for the city of Toronto. We've got freezing rain warnings to the west and snowfall warnings to the north and to the east. As the temperature falls tonight, we're going to see many areas transition over to some wet snow. Into the overnight, we're hanging on to the chance of some light freezing drizzle, but at that point, the majority of the precip from this storm will be finished. Tomorrow's forecast daytime high +2, mostly cloudy skies, a little bit of a break between the systems because we've got another storm that looks to impact us on Friday. Maybe not quite as impactful as this one, but one we're going to watch for sure. Nathan and Michelle.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. And that's it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6.